If you would like to support this podcast, subscribing to the channel and sharing with others is a free way to do so. You can also leave feedback in the comments below or join my Discord. Disclaimer: this podcast is largely based on experience and opinion. Your own may differ. Please be respectful if you'd like to voice this. Also keep in mind this season was recorded in July and August of 2022, so information may be outdated or the guests may have differing opinions in the future. Welcome back, everyone, to Say Chat Season 1. We're here with our panel, Chef, AZURE, the Global Legend, and, of course, KAHMEENA. Last week, we basically had to stop. Halfway through the episode, I went back and I was like, this is too long. We're going to cut it in half. So we're continuing from where we left off last time. And, yeah, without further ado, I hope you enjoy.
So I think KAHMEENA's definitely right in talking about how World vs. World is a ranked game mode, but it's actually not that simple. It's that World vs. World is an open world game mode that features competitive play, but also features other kinds of play. So at any given time, when you go onto a World vs. World map, you're going to have organized tags that are running meta, running squads of 20, 30, looking for fights, looking to produce content. You're going to have people who are around PPT, who are trying to drive the score up, control the matchup. You got people who are roamers, who are just looking to like flip camps or keep participation up. And you've got people who are like looking to do small group or single player like duels and Havoc squads. And all of those people have different goals, but are coexisting in the same game mode. And the conflicts between those different styles of play that different people are pursuing is, and this is my thoughts, I don't have evidence for this, but I think it's true. The conflicts between those different kinds of groups and those different goals are actually what give rise to a lot of the toxicity that we see in World vs. World.
I agree with that 100%.
I 100% agree with this, yes.
I have a comment. Let's not like over exaggerate here. There are way more friendlier World v World players versus toxic players.
True.
I agree.
True. Yes.
And
that's a good disclaimer.
And quietly, I'm not your idea. I would like to see it be attempted and tried by ArenaNet. Technically, they already have something like that, but it's only for the enemy players. You can see the enemy's players World v World rank, but you can't see your allies World v World rank, I guess. So I think that would be a good indicator to show World v World players who's new, who's not new, and maybe that could be like the signal for like, oh, you know, this guy doesn't really know what he's doing. Let me help him out, give him some tips, etc.
It would actually be really interesting if you could see your allied players rank.
Maybe
Yeah,
if they did, you guys know like the PvP badges that they do that you could like turn on and off. What if you could do something like that in World vs. World, where like when you're a new player, you could turn on your badge and let people know that you were new so that they weren't so hard on you, type thing.
That'd be sick, actually. Hey, Grouch, if you're listening, this is actually a really good idea.
Yeah, I'm still scared for the toxic and troll people.
It's not a good, show your rank if you want.
Bad idea.
Don't be scared, KAHMEENA. Like I said just now, there's way more friendlier people than toxic people.
Like I said, I agree with you. It's just that is, if you're gonna do that, it's like I don't know. It's like it's the same exact thing with the seeing your own squads thing. I don't mind it. I know what people are like. I see the thing is, it's like I'm making this like big stance on how it is. I wish it wasn't the case. Like I'm the nicest person unless you basically go at me and then hell has no fury like I am scorned. And all I do is try to help people, but like I just see it every day.
It's really hard to change community disposition as one person. So, hey, listener, if you're out there spending your time in World vs. World, you know, be a force for a positive community rather than a negative community, because there are more people in World vs. World who are friendly and helpful than people who are toxic and destructive. But because they spend the most time typing in team chat, they feel like they have an outsized influence.
You can block people and turn off chat.
This brings me to one of the questions that I have for this episode, because actually it's like perfect. Overall, do you think the community should push back against toxic people and try to have a friendlier attitude towards anyone? I mean, my general thought was like towards new players, but towards anyone, do you think we should push back and be like, hey, you know, that's maybe not an okay comment. You shouldn't be doing that. Like, even if it's constructive criticism, yes, I think constructive criticism is great, but if it's someone just flaming in map chat, do you think the community should push back against that and try to change community perceptions, or do you think they should just let it keep happening?
Absolutely should, and I try to do it, but I'm not perfect. Anyone who's read things that I've put in team chat for more than like 2 weeks knows that I'm not perfect, but the more people who speak out against it, the easier it is for more people to speak out against it. It's really a positive feedback loop.
Yeah, I mean, my only, I guess, fear, my only devil's advocate is you don't want to turn into potentially making people feel like they step on eggshells, because it can get to that point, if that makes sense. Because people can take it and also spin it the opposite way, where if they feel like they're being attacked, even if they're not, because like constructive criticism, for example, or just being like, hey, you shouldn't have done that, then they could be like, no, you're being toxic. And that's the only scary thing, but it's called what I do. Just do what I do. Go in every day and try to help people. That's all I do. All I do every day is I just want to help people. I want to help them with builds, help them get gear, help them with anything, because I want them to enjoy the game. If everyone was thinking like that, or majority of people were thinking like that, then trolls at the end of the day don't matter, because they're just a couple of people there, and you can just toss them out. You don't have to.
And it
worry
really
about them.
is just like a couple people.
Yeah.
Doesn't this sound like we're kind of like falling back and talking about, I guess the report system that ANET has? Because in PvP, for example, you can get dishonored, and then you can't queue up for PvP. Maybe there should be like a dishonor system for world versus world, where like if enough people report you for like, I guess, being toxic in chat or something, you're not allowed inside the world portal. You can't play world versus world. You're banned from it, pretty much.
I would not mind that, only if a human was the one that was monitoring it, because if it's a bot and people mass report you, it's gonna be used to hell.
Yeah. Well,
100%.
You haven't talked in a while. I'd like to know your opinion on all of this, especially because you are pretty prevalent in the PvP scene. So like the badges are something that you see all the time, and you're getting into world versus world, so you're a newer player, and whether or not you think that something implemented like this and having the community push back against toxicity would be helpful or not, type thing.
I mean, the dishonor thing, you don't see it often, just because when people get dishonored, they usually stop playing PvP or the game altogether, obviously. However, what I can say definitely is that overall, when it comes down to it, there are friendly and toxic people. However, sometimes people do end up being or seeming toxic when they aren't. I think that was something that was a bit mentioned as well. To give an example, once when I was on my off-meta full-power Berserker build with KAHMEENA commanding on an A, I was dueling this thief. And I couldn't kill him. Right after some time, I just started running away because I couldn't kill him, but he couldn't kill me either. And he literally went through all this effort to message me, hey, you're on full Berserker build, full power Berserker build, but yet you can't kill me. And I'm like,
oh, that's
bruh.
when you know you made it, when you get the angry whisper.
Yeah, but then I was like, bro, I'm a new player, I don't know what I'm doing, even though I am not actually a new player. And he was literally like, "Oh wait, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to."
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier with people.
There are people who will seem toxic, however they actually aren't in the end. So like you would have both sides of the story when it comes to stuff like dishonor as well. Where if people think you're toxic, you might get dishonored. What do you do then? All you can do is appeal it somehow, but hey, there's gonna be another long road to do that. which is why ANET might not want to do that. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I think it's a generally interesting idea.
I mean, it sucks because I want to ask another question too, but we're gonna go on longer because it's like
Let's just go a little longer and then we can cut.
Yeah.
It's like one of the things is like I wanted to ask is like, has anybody here ever gone like, and essentially like and talk shit essentially, and it has
Yes,
been like
I'm not too proud. I'll admit it.
right?
Yes.
You're like I've done it on when I'm commanding, like I go like, no, we own this, they don't. Like they're shitters, right? Like to hype up my group, to get them pumped, to get them, like, yeah, we're playing better, we are better, right? Like some people, that's what I was like saying before. It's like some people can consider that toxic if you speak out right against this, like, and that's not being toxic. It's just we're trying to be like competitive. We're trying to be.
I've like said things that could be phrased nicer in ways that are not nice, and anyone who says that they haven't is like probably a liar.
Right, like I know every person I know is like when you get a kill, you're like, yeah, screw you, woohoo, right? Like they're they're all hyped and all excited because they kicked ass, they did it, they won. But like people could easily perceive that as being toxic when they're not, and I think everyone has done that at some point in time after getting a kick, a sick headshot or a sick win in a close battle, or when you're just you just edge out and win a fight in like a fighting game or whatever. Like
I think
that's kind of normal.
That actually falls really well into what Holy said, that honestly, guys, there aren't that many toxic people in the world versus world community. There's like some, and we all know our community trolls and our community toxic people, like especially server based. Like I was on TC for a while, and the troll and the toxic person was very well known. We knew when they were on. They were definitely always in map chat. That handful of people just are very vocal about things, and that most of the time people aren't actually being toxic. They're just being competitive. And, like KAHMEENA said, they're just, hyped up and they're just saying things. And I think people do take that the wrong way sometimes, and they need to. Community mindset needs to be changed in certain ways so that we understand that these people aren't actually being toxic. They're just being hyped up, like all of that stuff. Like a majority of the world versus world community are not bad people. They are not toxic people. They're just enjoying a competitive game mode with their friends and type thing, which is why I think the new player thing would be a really good idea, because I think generally people will be more lenient for new players, and like the person that Globe 1v1'd, like Globe said he was a new player and they were automatically like, oh, I'm so sorry, like I didn't know type thing. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys want to pitch in on this?
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think being able to see allied ranks without being in squad with them would be sick. Like if it was something you could get when you mouse over them, it would influence the way that I interact with people in TeamSpeak a lot.
I think
Like a lot. If there's a guy who's like ranked 4,500 and he's like Ink Tower, I'm gonna tell him to be a better scout. If there's a guy who's like, rank 40 and is like Ink Tower Red, I'm gonna be a lot more constructive in the suggestions that I give them about how to be a better scout.
Yeah, like I said, I agree it's good, but it's just I'm scared for the little bit of a potential. The bad things.
You can't let fear. You were the one that said this to me yesterday, KAHMEENA. You can't let fear stop you from doing things.
Yeah,
That's
KAHMEENA,
true.
you're the clapback guy.
Yeah,
Let's go.
come on.
That's true. I am the clapback guy. It's listen. I'm not saying this for myself. I'm saying this for the other peepos out there, the new peepos or the new commanders I want. I'm so kind-hearted that I want to look out for them. On a personal scale, I say bring it on, right? Like I literally say, come on, bring it. I dare you. Let's go. I have no problem with it. But I the more I think about it too, I think it's a really good idea.
Oli, what do you think? And Globe? Oli?
They're dead.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so the general question was, before all of this conversation was, do you think the community should push back against toxic players and make a friendlier attitude? And then it kind of like switched into like, a lot of people aren't actually toxic, they're just hyped up and they're playing a competitive mode. So like any like, it's a broad range of whatever you want to comment on.
So absolutely, this is a competitive game mode. Number one, have good sportsmanship. That's what it boils down to. Number two, I feel like what World v World is missing, and hopefully, Alliance might solve this, is it needs a better matchmaking system. Like, so think about Valorant, for example. You're like bronze, silver, gold, whatever. You queue up for a ranked match, you get matched up with other people that are gold, bronze, silver. I feel like World v World kind of needs that too, because right now it's like a giant melting pot of like experienced veteran hardcore World v World fight guilds, and then you got your like roamers, you got your casuals, weekly players, like brand new players. But like, of course, I don't know how Alliance is going to work at all, but I would hope that Alliances improves the matchmaking system. Right now server versus server, but when I reread all the stuff that ANET wrote about alliances, they make it sound like the matchmaking system is going to be based off like how
Activity,
much,
rather
how much
than score.
Yeah, how much time you spend in World versus World, how often you log in World versus World, what's your KDA, etc., your ranking for World versus World. I feel like all those would be good indicators, because imagine this, like in the future, like after Alliances comes out, like there's a reset, like a World v World reset for the week, but every player in that matchup, they're all diamond rank World v World players. Wouldn't that be interesting? Because then you wouldn't have to deal with any of the new players. It would just be all the veterans just fighting each other.
I like where your head's at, but you can still hit diamond by manning an AC and never actually fighting.
Yeah, that's true. I understand that.
Also, sadly, alliances are not going to be like that, because like you can invite anybody into your guild, and then it's like if they're pairing it with guilds, yeah, they're probably going to have some like personal things, or even guild, how much your guild tag is in it. But I can still invite somebody brand new and to my guild, and they click the button to sign up for it, and if they're one of the 500 slots.
But it will be good,
yeah,
because we talked about like how there's like a difference in mindset in World versus World. At least alliances will be able to put guilds that have like-minded like attitudes and like actually enjoy each other for at least a little while together, and so it might actually eliminate some of like the tensions between specific people, because people will be able to form this bond with other guilds, and they'll be able to play with people that they like, and then they'll have like sprinkled in some people who are solo players or smaller guilds, and then just those people will obviously just play the way they want to anyway.
Yeah. I mean, massive caveat, this is being recorded on August 20th. We have not had a single beta for the Alliances system yet. We've had like 3 betas for world restructuring. We have no idea how matchups are going to be predicated based on what guild you're in. So if you're in 2028, when Alliances just launched with, the release of Guild Wars 3, I hope it works. I'm really excited to play it, but we don't know anything about what that matchup system is going to look like yet.
They finally got the world restructuring to work this beta, and that actually was very exciting to hear.
It didn't work completely. A lot of people in my guild, we selected our guild, but then we still got separated.
Oh no!
So
we didn't have any of those issues, fortunately.
No.
I mean, I'm not the only one, by the way. On the forums on Reddit, if you search, you'll find those posts. People are like, well, I selected my guild and I didn't get matched up for my guild. So they still got some kinks they need to work out on, but yeah, some final closing thoughts and questions I want to leave for the viewers and for the commenters, especially since this topic today was about the World v World community and attitude. Number one, do you prefer PPTing versus just fighting like open field? Or do you want to fight like inside like a structure? Do you want to capture like the enemy's objectives? Like what do you prefer? Like I think that's like the most important thing, which is basically tying back to what we keep saying is when you come to World versus World, you're coming in for a goal, and of course you're coming in for fun. What do you want to do in World versus World? Do you want to fight? Do you want to capture things, etc.? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of leads back to previous episodes, right, where for commanders the advice was have a goal, but like for regular players too, have a goal and then just find people who have that similar goal. Find a commander who has that similar goal. This is turned into like nothing to do with commanding, but and then just
I think this is a really good episode, honestly.
I think so too. I think so too. But yeah,
this
just
entire thing has been amazing.
Just find someone with similar goals to you, whether they're meta or not meta, open or closed, you know, PPT, PPK, you know, Havoc, roaming. Just find people of like mindset, and world versus world will be a good place for you. Like, a lot of the toxicity is the tension between the groups and the different mindsets and stuff like that, and the trolls, because they just like trolling. And so yeah, I think it's generally a really good advice and a question to ask people, like, what is your goal going into world versus world? And then the advice would be, find people with that similar goal, and you will have a great time in world versus world. Like, no matter what the community attitudes are, like EU, NA, you'll have a good time because you're with your people, right?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to send it off.
Yeah,
It's the truth. If you find people that you play with, regardless of even the game mode, you will have more fun.
yeah, you
Look for that.
gotta find your tribe, as they say.
Yep.
But yeah, Globe, do you have anything you want to say before we wrap up? You haven't spoken in a while.
Honestly, you have covered everything I wanted to say.
Like minds.
I only spent like an hour, so I'd hope so.
Yeah. Okay, well then I'm gonna wrap it up and say goodbye to everyone who's listening. If you're on YouTube, definitely answer Holy's questions. Think about it. Do what Chef said and make sure you're like being the type of person in chat that you want to be, and trying to push the positive atmosphere, and try not to always think of things as toxic, because people generally aren't actually being toxic. They're just being competitive, and there is a very thin line, but there is a line between the two. But yeah, next episode we'll be back with commander mindsets, which I'm very excited about, and kind of has to do with this episode as well. So